When I think of meteorites, I think of them as being these serendipitous gifts from our solar system. For me, that means that they are gifts from our Creator. Creator has put into each rock a story. Rocks are storytellers. They have all of this information about their early history, just waiting for us to uncover them. And they want to tell us how they formed and where they came from. And that tells us so much about the science of our solar system and of our Earth. Halito, Sohochifoyet Kat Gardner-Vandy. I'm an assistant professor of aviation and space at Oklahoma State University. Part of why I love to study meteorites so much is because we get to hold them in our hands. They are these gifts and we can study them in the lab, and I can show them to somebody and say, here, look at this rock that's actually from space. I can't honestly remember any time that I didn't want to pursue space as my career. I remember being a really little girl and wanting to read all I could about the planets. I would look up at the stars and wonder what those bigger objects were, particularly the moon, and I could feel almost the sense of homesickness when I saw the moon, that I wanted to go there. I wanted to try to see what was on the moon. Could I collect some of those rocks and see what was up there? I am a product of all the different people in my past and my family and my mentors and teachers. And when I am doing the things that I'm doing, I'm representing them. I'm representing my past. I'm representing my ancestors. We are really just an interwoven mixture of these experiences. And when we work together to do things, we can make really huge, wonderful things happen. And it's even more beautiful. Everyone needs a seat at the table. And so when we as Native Americans or when we as women are not getting ourselves into those places, our voice is not being heard. And we are limiting the way in which we are solving the really big problems that we have in our world. The Native American way of knowing is a way of knowing that involves so much relationality to it. It's so important to bring that relationality into science because everything is interwoven. And if we can think about things from a relational standpoint, then I truly believe that we can solve these really big problems that we have. We know who we are. We know what our ancestors say. We know what our people, the Choctaw people, have been doing in terms of science for millennia. And we want to make sure that that history and that culture keeps going into the future. We want to make sure that our children and our children's children keep knowing what that looks like. Around the time of graduate school, I thought, well, how can I bring space and my culture together? And it wasn't until my mentor, Dr. Tim McCoy, he is a curator of meteorites at the Smithsonian Institution. He's a citizen of the Miami tribe. He was the one who really sat down with me and said, here's how we bring our stories into the work that we're doing in the lab. Here is how there's a connection between our native ancestry and meteorites and planetary sciences and the moon and how we're thinking about our solar system. I feel this beautiful sense of responsibility to do these things, to do this work, not only with Choctaw Nation, but with NASA, and to represent the things that I love, my love of space and my love of airplanes and science. I mentioned my mentor, Tim McCoy. So he worked with the Miami tribe for quite a while to develop curriculum that was all based upon their earth and sky stories. And I distinctly remember one day he had showed me the curriculum and he pushed it over to me and he said, it's your turn. You need to do this with the Choctaw Nation. And I said, absolutely. I think of him as one of my elders. And so I will do that. I found a program called the NASA Science Activation Program. And within the solicitation, it said that they were really looking for programs that would be ways in which they could get NASA content and NASA resources out to different learners of all ages. And I thought, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to try to get NASA content, more Earth and space science out to all different Native American communities. Why not start with Choctaw Nation and let it grow from there? We were working with Choctaw Nation on our curriculum. Jackie Putnam of the Growing Hope program had come to us with a really interesting idea. She said, Kat, is it possible that we could ever grow our Choctaw seeds in space? I was so delighted to tell her that yes, actually we could. So the International Space Station has platforms where the astronauts grow vegetables. This is a real thing. We could absolutely send our seeds into space. We got in communication with the ISS National Laboratory. They are in charge of all the projects that go to the space station. We got to go watch the launch of our seeds in Florida, and the seeds spent about 6 months on the space station, and now I'm happy to announce they're back home. The main point about our curriculum is that it's all based upon a story. We base everything first on our relationships with each nation, with their language, with their elders, with the stories, and then we pull in the earth and space science that comes along with that. Lots of research shows that when you take education from a cultural standpoint, when you bring in story and language and art and culture into science curriculum, everybody does better. Not just the Native American students, it's everyone who does better. They can find themselves, within that story, whether it's your history and your ancestry, your culture or not. To me, Together We're More really means that I bring my strengths and I bring my dreams and passions and desires, and you do the same. You bring your strengths and dreams and passions and desires, and we put them together. We interweave them so that we can have a really amazing project at the end. What I always think about is that I want our programming to show these Native youth, whether it's Choctaw youth or Native American youth as a whole, that everyone is a scientist. Everyone, you're doing it right now. Anytime you make an observation about the world, you're being a scientist. Every time you think about the way in which you might grow your garden and how you do different types of planting, that is science. Every time you're just looking at the sky and wondering, how did that cloud get there and why did it change shape? You're doing science, you're making observations. And so I would love to have all of the Native youth recognize that I can do that. And then all of these youth will then come through and be people that we will look to solve some of these big problems.